Hey, everybody. Me and Bart are looking scruffy.
It's Friday.
I'm almost full-blown dreadlock level. I'm trying to pack to get out of here. But, of course, Bart has to come in here and start showing me all this cool stuff. And it's so awesome because so many researchers out there are doing incredible work that's just visually proving all the stuff that we've been talking about. We're doing our own research now, too, in Tampa, which we're super happy about. But I wanted to show you some images because me and Bart were in here geeking and nerding out on this, and I think we have a lot of science chicks that would enjoy all of it. So I'm going to turn the camera around. We're just looking at Bart's computer. But the first thing that I want to talk about is blood and how much it's in the fascia, because I talk a lot about how if you can't get blood to the skin, and because the fascia is impeding it, then you can't get pump to the muscle, and you also can't get what the blood carries to the skin. Oh my God, I can't wait to turn the camera around. Okay, so if you can't get blood to the skin, you can't get oxygen, elastin, collagen, all of these things that we're trying to put onto our skin when it's actually inside of our skin.
Yep.
So let me show you. And warning if you have weak stomach at all. This is inside of a human body. Look at all of the fascia, and then there's the blood right there running directly through it. So you can imagine what would happen if this fascia were to clamp down and impede that blood flow.
I'm going to bring up another one. This one is talking about more hydration. So this is just during surgery, this is the fascia trapping in all the moisture in your body. So that's what keeps you hydrated.
Well, and what are the benefits of hydration? Like, the list is so long. In fact, I've been more hydrated since I wrote my book than ever before. Show it again. If your fascia is not hydrated, it's crispy, crunchy, and
this is what it
gross.
looks like in the body when as you're moving, as you're
Get out of here with your gagging self, Steve.
This is what the fascia.
Steve has a gag problem. Get out. I'm serious. I don't want to hear you puking over my shoulder.
So you can see they're literally pumping saline through here, but it's just the water is being trapped in the fascia because that's what helps keep everything hydrated and just working correctly, fluidly, everything flowing. We'll go to another one right here. This is just where they're taking.
Hold on, I'm just going to tell you, it's an incision. So if you have issue with incision, just be cautious when you watch this.
So this.
I don't have a problem with it.
It's just taking a scalpel to the skin and just showing.
Okay, stop right there, because look what's right below the skin. There is the fascial layer. You can even see, in my book, I explicitly describe how there's a structural layer and then an interstructural. And right there in the interstructural fascia, coming right through the fat, is the freaking blood.
There's blood supply coming up to the front to the skin, and that's all fascia right here. Okay, you can see.
Then there's your fat. I wonder if do you have?
There's one.
Is somebody with cellulite on here? Because I'd love to see the grid where
there's one with it popping out. I'll get it real quick. Where literally it takes an incision, and we'll just kind of show them all these just because we're here. So this is just showing that's a muscle right here, and then this is just all. Look at that blood supply. That is a vein. That is an artery.
Yes.
Literally.
How deep are we? Is that in? Did they cut open
This is
a muscle?
it'll say it is. I think it's 25 times magnification.
Okay, but inside of a muscle?
Yes,
Because look at what I want to talk about is the interstructural fascia.
This is the space. That's a muscle right there.
Okay,
this
so
is
here's the muscle, and then this is the.
This is the interstructural, is what I would think.
Yeah, interstructural. Like,
So,
people don't understand.
This is that pink
and
muscle
this is
right
why
here.
the book is so important, because look at that. That is the fascial line.
That's
right?
muscle,
fascia dividing it, and then all of the interstructural fascia. And to me, that's an adhesion.
And you see why this is shiny? That's the light from the camera, but that means it's reflecting off the the liquid that's in the body. So if you're dehydrated, and imagine if this was it's just going to shrivel. What happens if you leave something out in the sun? What happens if you stay out in the sun? You
turn
shrivel.
into beef jerky.
You shrivel. So look at,
these little calves right here, they're not shiny underneath.
No, exactly. So
they are dehydrated and fascia bound.
We have a lot of good ones, so just bear with us.
Yeah, just keep going. But I love also seeing this blood supply. I mean, you can clearly see it running through what people call the fascial sheath.
And that, to be honestly,
which is the structural fascia. That is a line of
this looks
structural
like
fascia.
the lower level of the skin. Like the skin will be above that.
Yeah.
That looks like it's supplying.
And by the way, this is copyrighted.
Yeah,
so
we bought this book.
We
and it
bought
came
it.
with the
I just want to
DVD.
give credit to Indo Vivo Productions.
This is it right there. Architecture
This
of
is
Human
not-
Living Fascia.
And this is not our original content.
But there's a good one where they literally make an incision, and the fat literally pops out. I'm trying to.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can show you guys what cellulite looks like inside the body.
Okay, well, this is a good one where they just take. This is like kind of a dissect. This is just a forearm. So that's the forearm muscle right here, and then there's the fascia with some fat on top of it.
By the way, look at this.
That's fat.
That is fat, and it's like globbed onto the structural fascia. And this person actually has good fascia. The fact that all of these fibers
Look,
are
you can
nice
still see
and
the
straight.
water. You can see the artery and veins above it right there. So this is actually done on a cadaver, but look, it's still wet and fresh. You see the blood supply right there.
And also, like Bart telling, that's good fascia.
Yeah, no, that's
you and
that's
I
what
have
it's
both
supposed
done
to look like.
dissection.
That's
and,
what it's supposed to
well,
look
it starts to get a little grimy over there. See how, like on this side right here?
This looks like an adhesion.
This
see how
looks
it's
a little gridded and adhesion, but you know that's what the FasciaBlaster does. It helps to align the fascia.
This is just another one showing the.
That looks like visceral fascia to me.
This is just showing.
What does that one say?
It's supposed to. It's that fascia's everywhere and it goes through every nook and cranny. It's just trying to really show
Okay, so
an
from what
individual
I have
fascial
seen,
fiber.
what I've seen where it looks like this, because look how there's not much behind it. That is
The abdominal cavity, right?
That's the abdominal
Yeah, that's
cavity
what I
and the
would think.
visceral fascia. When in the book, when I explain all this stuff, I talk about the goopy fascia. Show it again because so all of you who have like a pouch or a pooch in your stomach, or if you're a dude and you have like the beer belly, it is this fascia right here when it all restricts and comes down onto the muscular system, onto the fat.
You can even, I mean,
It gets all bound. This literally gets bound up. It also, by the way, if this is visceral fascia, I'm not positive it
yeah.
is because it's under magnification, but if it is, this is what chokes out your intestines. This is what chokes out your ovaries. This fascia here is what explains why your periods are changing. Because if you release and open this stuff up to be fully functional, it looks like that. That is healthy fascia,
and you can
except for
actually
that
see
one
it.
spot.
It's kind of pulling, guys.
Look at
It's
that.
pulling on.
Do you see right there
Yeah.
where it's a little distorted? That's what we call a
So
fascial
this is the next
distortion.
one. So this is what happens when, I mean, Ashley will tell you first. We started doing fascial treatment as poles, as fascia poles.
And when
So
he
this
says fascia pole, let me see Steve's arm. Yeah, when we originally started treating fascia, yours is getting better, by the way.
look-
We would grab it and pull it up because that would give it a stretch. By the way, that's the same thing that, like,
And
I think
also-
Bella Shape does and endermology. They're trying to. The reason why it's somewhat successful for cellulite is because you're getting some suction.
And I don't want to give away what the video is going to, but this is what happens after. So after doing, we kind of say do the kneading technique if you're really beyond bound and everything, just to kind of start you
or
off.
the fibromyalgia
So,
people.
well, look what happens. This is what happens after you're doing a skin pull technique. So just let the video play out. This is your forearm. They're going to come in and pull it up and see what happens to the fascia.
Whoa, I'm getting so excited.
Well, just wait till they pull.
Look how you're
That's-
stretching it.
Look how everything's going to start to have more
And
blood.
by the way, if you had the FasciaBlaster, it would come through and break this stuff up, making the fascia pull even more effective.
Yeah, I'm going to show that one again. Isn't that cool, Ash?
I'm having a serious nerdgasm on this
No,
right now.
I
Watch how
literally-
they pull the skin up, you guys. It lays down. And then
And
they
look
pull it up.
how the fibers. Look at this one right here. I really want to concentrate. It wasn't even part of the picture, but just because you moved it. So look at this corner right over here. As it gets pulled up, new ones will arrive.
I was about to say, it's pulling in the deeper level, like that's
Yeah.
all the way
See,
coming
look, it
through
pulls
the
up,
fat.
and look at the new ones that it just created. Just because we were pulling over here, but over here got some fibers released.
So, are you saying you know what you're talking about? And, like, you actually know what you're doing? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, so for all the haters on the Ashley Black Guru page,
This is where. So this is
show
what
them
happens.
this video.
This is what happens when. This is what cellulite is doing to your body. It wants to just be. That's cellulite right there. That's fat trying
hold
to.
on, wait, let me focus in. So you see how that fat is trying to bust up through the fascia fibers, and it creates a lump.
This is done. I read this part. This is actually done on the thigh.
That's a thigh.
That's a thigh. So we don't know if it's a female or a male, but we can assume. But look how it just wanted to explode out.
Yep, that fascia was pushing. And by the way, if your fascia was loose when you made that incision, that fat would not pop up. You
saw the first one where they did an incision where it wasn't just wanting to blow up out of the incision.
That's why, listen, biatches, right now, that is why you do not want to be beyond bound, even if it makes you smooth, because your fat is dying to pop out.
Okay, so this one might be over.
Always better.
This one might be over everyone's head, but we're always talking about fat lysing and adipocytes, which is just cellular adipose tissue. Well, this is what that looks like in the fascia. So this is what we can think gummy bear would. I mean, this is literally fat cells trapped in the fascia. The fat, all these lines you see, that's the fascia. The fat cells are moving in it. So what's happening is they're touching the outside of the body with the endoscope in there. So this is what it looks like as the fat's moving through fascia.
Looks like a scroll of fish.
Yeah, we'll play that one again.
I love that because think about fat lysing. I mean, you're talking about not only with the FasciaBlaster being able to see how that's crimply and all that, smoothing and loosening all of those fascia lines. No, I don't want to call them lines. Fascia infrastructure, and then being able to take these fat cells and basically liquidify them. Mm-hmm. They break into such tiny bits that they're almost liquidified. Yep. Ask any plastic surgeon because they do this before they do liposuction.
So this is what's called the deep fascia, Ashley. You already know. But this is a muscle right here.
Hold on, time out. I'm going to answer a question real quick.
Okay.
Ashley Carnite, is it only true that fat lysing occurs when you flex a muscle? We think that it's most effective when you flex a muscle, but I cannot guarantee that the FasciaBlaster on a loose muscle won't lyse. There's a chance that it can.
You saw everything we were just going. It's enveloped everywhere.
It's hard to separate them out. We tried to make it simple and give two separate techniques. But I think fascia blasting has some inherent fat lysing.
So this is a good one. This
also,
is actually
it creates a thermogenic effect regardless.
Yeah, the thermogenesis,
which is going to kind of quote unquote melt fat cells anyway. Okay, you tell them what they're looking at.
This is a great view. So this looks like a forearm to me. So this is one of the forearm muscles. That looks like a tendon back here. But they're lifting up the skin.
By the way, on the camera, they can't use your finger because they can't see.
They can't see. So this is a muscle right here. That's a tendon. So I believe this is in the forearm where some tendons are coming up on top. But this is a deeper muscle. And look at the adhesions to each. That's the deep muscle, but it's going all the way up to the skin where there's blood supply. Yep. Look down here. That's coming out all the way down here off the screen. We don't know. It could be going to a different muscle. It could be going to a nerve, blood supply.
Look at the blood and the fat.
Yeah, so this is fat. Looks like a fascia adhesion to me. See how it's all gloppy? It's all gloppy like that, and it needs to look. That's what it's supposed to look like.
It needs to look more like this.
And look even over here, you got a fiber coming all the way down out here, going up straight over here, up to the top of the surface. So all this is surface fascia. This looks like it's right underneath the skin, but just placed on the blood supply.
Yes, and in the Cellulite Myth book, I know you guys think you're getting a cellulite book, but it's really more of a fascia book. And what I love about this is if you pull the skin up, there is what I call structural fascia. It's what other people call the membrane. Mm-hmm. It's what Tom Myers and them call the, lines. Mm-hmm. What are they? Trains?
The myofascial
lines. The myofascial lines.
Meridians.
And when you're doing Barnes techniques, they're really working primarily with manipulating this very top layer of what I call structural fascia. But as if you see, the structural fascia, like jellyfish, has the lines of the
Jellyfish is a good way to put it.
Yes.
Just like
a jellyfish.
Yeah.
It hangs off, but then look, it goes into that muscle. And by the way, if you were to cut open and penetrate into that muscle right there, it would continue on, and it would continue on layer and layer.
Yeah.
I want it. For some reason, I thought if I scrolled down, it would be down there.
No, it's still, we've got to go video to video. So we'll let this one play out and kind of see if we see. They're even focusing really well on the blood supply. They're showing. Look at. That's some blood. That's a fascia adhesion.
I'm going to go back to listen, biatches, because y'all responded to that well. Listen to me, women. Go back to the blood.
Okay.
Slide back over.
Oh gosh, sorry. It's gonna.
Hold on.
It's not
great.
It's not great. It's yeah.
I can tell you this: if
this is actually, sorry, I clicked the wrong one.
If you do not get.
That's the sliding of that's the movement of a muscle. So
Okay,
they're,
well,
they're,
this is where we get into
So this is-
movement, but I
this-
want to talk about blood.
let me go back.
Ladies,
I'm sorry.
if you want nice skin, there's one magic key to good skin, and it is blood, because blood carries the nutrients to the skin cells, period, the end. It also carries the proteins, collagen, and elastin.
This is the one we were talking.
Tell him, Bart, I'm preaching.
Yeah, preach,
I want to
girl.
get an amen or something around here.
Sorry, I'm paying attention.
Hallelujah!
So there's the blood supply. Look at that.
That's unreal. To the skin.
So the skin, you're looking at
And
the skin
also,
up
by
here.
the way, there is fascia right here distorting it.
So this is what we think a varicose vein might look like on the other side.
Yep.
You see how it's continuing up from the trunk here,
It only
and then something comes in.
Look, it only
crunch-
crimps and crux because of the. By the way, I'm going to take a whole, like, literally somebody's about to sue me for what I'm about to say, and I don't care. It is the fascia that crimps and crooks these veins and arteries, because look at these. They're nice and straight. They're running through good fascia. So what do you think happens when blood tries to make a turn and it can't? It's just like a riverbed, and it starts to collect trash. This is where we are getting plaque buildup in our bodies. So anybody who out there is young, start blasting
But another good
immediately.
point is, like, look,
because you cannot have a heart attack.
you can see how this is really embedded in the superficial layer over here. But look what's trying to come and drag it.
Yup.
It's trying to still get some. The muscles trying to get some connection here.
It's
It
like,
wants
can I
it.
get some blood?
Yeah, it's that's when I see that, it means that this is still somehow getting blood supply from this artery vein.
Yep.
It's hard to tell when they're actually in the body. They're all red. Outside, we make veins blue so we can differentiate them in science.
Right,
So
exactly. Say that again, because I think people get confused by diagrams.
Yeah, well, like they're inside the body, it's still all red.
Right.
But in diagrams and stuff, we make it blue so we understand what's going on.
What's the difference between a
Of
vein
artery and a
and
vein.
artery, yeah.
Veins are shallower, more superficial. Arteries are deeper because they provide the actual oxygen to the tissue first. Veins take away blood that doesn't have any oxygen with it. But let's go to this next one that's really, really good. Oh shoot, technology, jeez.
While I have all of you, I just wanted to thank you that we had a massive email today when we've already sold in 30 minutes 1,500 mini twos. So now you can have your nugget ends to go digging through this fascia and not just your blasting. And
Give me
then
one
pretty
second,
soon,
y'all.
the man blaster.
All right, give me one
Come on,
second.
Bart. You're the
Yes.
one.
Here we go. Here we
Down
go.
with
So this
technology.
is what's happening. So that's a tendon moving.
Okay, so let's
They're
talk.
literally-
Let's talk about that, because when
Okay.
I look at it, even to me, it's confusing, and I know an awful lot about this. But I don't think what people realize is that. So if this is the tendon, which, by the way, you guys, is just the end of a muscle. Everybody said, "Oh, it connects, muscle to bone," but to me,
It's
a
the
tendon is just the point. It's the end points of a muscle.
the
It's
difference
where
between them
muscle-
is their collagen is different. So
They're more dense.
They're a different type of collagen. Yes. So.
Okay, so you're looking at something.
So this would
like-
I would imagine this is like a biceps tendon, a forearm tendon, maybe a hamstring tendon. But first off,
Look at the
This
blood.
is the blood supply laying right on top of it.
And
Let's-
by the way, every single thing that's shiny is fascia.
Yeah, it's all. So if you notice, we'll let it play out. It's kind of like in a sheath. It kind of looks like it's sliding on its own without anything else moving.
Well, and imagine
That's a
if the
fascial
fascia
sheet.
was stuck down. Guess
Here,
what
this
it
is a
would do?
great
It would
picture.
keep your tendon from moving.
Look at this picture. So this is the main artery right here. Look at the branches is going through the fascia into different aspects of this tendon. So you see all these. Sorry, I gotta use my finger. All of these little things are bleeding to the fascia. That's over here. That's the skin and the fat. So this is definitely